September, a very indicative month for car sales as the plate changes happen and buyers clamour to get their new cars. Now, what they're clamouring for is what is really of interest here and gives us a real look under the hood, as it were, of the current state of affairs when it comes to electric vehicle uptake. So we start with a familiar story. EV fans are rejoicing that on the surface it appears like it's been a record month for sales with EVs, but dig just a little bit deeper and all is certainly not what it seems. Here's the stats. So 56,837 new EV registrations, a big figure, but a massive 75.9% of that is accounted for by fleet purchases. Meanwhile, private EV sales rose by just 3.6%, but because that's such a small market to begin with, the private EV market, 3.6%, it only equates to about 400 or so cars. Now, here's what makes that figure particularly alarming. This is after what the SMMT term as unprecedented manufacturer discounts. Now, we don't need an SMMT article to tell us that. We can see all over the place that dealerships are discounting EVs to try and get them out the door. We also know that dealerships have been rationing the supply of petrol cars to try and entice people into an EV that they can buy here and now and not have to wait for the petrol equivalent. We also know that there's been a mass pre-registration of EVs in order to try and meet the government ZEV 22% target for this year. So in reality, that 3.6%, that tiny 3.6% of growth could well just be sat unsold on a forecourt somewhere, and that is despite the best efforts of everyone involved and even a bit of fudging the numbers in there as well. Now, diesel sales are the somewhat hilarious shocker of the September figures, with a private growth of 17.1%. Now, think about that for just a moment. The ancient unincentivized agricultural fuel is outperforming the highly marketed incentivized battery electric cars in the private market. If that doesn't tell you all you need to know about consumer demand, I'm not sure what will. Now, this is obviously terrible news for manufacturers who are trying hard to sell these cars to adhere to the government ZEV mandate here in the UK, which for the uninitiated is 22% of all new cars sold this year must be fully electric or risk a £15,000 fine. And when I say fully electric, I mean it. So it doesn't take into account things like hybrids, hydrogen, these clever new synthetic fuels. No, none of it counts. We'll talk about that a bit more later in this video. Manufacturers are also losing massive amounts of revenue in doing this. The SMMT reckons that manufacturers will spend around £2 billion this year alone discounting EVs, and plainly, that's just not sustainable. So following these figures, the SMMT, and 12 other manufacturers have written to the Chancellor recommending measures to try and boost these sales urgently. Some of these measures include halving of VAT, introducing more incentives and decreasing public charging prices. Now let me know your thoughts in the comments below on this, but to me none of these measures is really getting to the crux of the issue, and that's simply that people don't want to buy them. Decreasing new prices will only serve to push used depreciation even further into the hole, pushing all the prices down on the used market, which is also a problem. So Chief Executive Mike Hawkes at SMMT commented, "There are serious concerns as the market is not growing quickly enough to meet mandated targets, despite manufacturers spending billions on both product and market support. Support that the industry cannot sustain indefinitely." They definitely can't, no. "Market weakness is putting environmental ambitions at risk and jeopardising future investment. While we appreciate the pressures on the public purse, the Chancellor must use the forthcoming budget to introduce bold measures on consumer support and infrastructure to get the transition back on track, and with it the economical growth and environmental benefits that we all crave." So the calling there is just to keep propping things up then. How can we realistically escape this mess? Well, I've said it before and I'll say it again. The ZEV mandate needs to be expanded, and let me know your thoughts on this as well. Right now it only takes into account battery electric vehicles, but it's not the only way in which emissions can be reduced. Manufacturers are showing that. These synthetic fuels that are being utilised more and more extensively in Europe are showing that. What about hybrids? What about hydrogen? I could go on and on. If anything, this mandate stunts the advancement of other potentially more immediate solutions because it's just so laser focused on these battery electric vehicles, which the market are clearly rejecting. Consumers are being forced into cars that they don't want. Manufacturers are being fined, and the market is starting to buckle. But it's still a record month for EV sales. Now, the other effect that this is having is it's causing people to hang on to their old cars for longer or buy used cars, as I'm doing myself. Now, if you're in that camp as well, here is a service worthy of your consideration. Vehicle Score. Put the plate of the car that you're thinking about buying into their service. It'll tell you the good and bad points for completely free. But if you are serious about buying said car, you should really buy a proper background HPI report. I'll drop a 15% discount voucher and link in the description below. So use that and make sure your next car is a good one. But as ever, thank you so much for watching and do let me know your thoughts.